In this program, I met Reverend Martin Smith of the Ulster Unionist Party, Rajni Sharma, the manager of the Indian Community Centre, Dr. Mobeen Mobayed, the president of the Belfast Islamic Centre, and Patrick Hugh, the executive director of the Northern Ireland Council for the Ethnic and Asian Minorities. Dr. Mobeen Mobayed is a Muslim from Syria who came to Northern Ireland in 1990. He is a psychiatrist in a local hospital in Belfast and also plays an active role at the Belfast Islamic Centre.
Originally from Damascus in Syria, where I did medicine and came with my wife to Dublin. We lived there in Dublin for 6 years. During that time I did my psychiatric training. And then we came to Northern Ireland in 1990. I remember the first night I arrived to Belfast. I was on my own. I drove from Dublin. I arrived here around 10 o'clock. And I wanted to ask direction to the city hospital. But I was very careful approaching people in the street for not scaring them. I thought that everyone would be tense. But then I was surprised to see that life goes on as normal as possible. I was expecting the trouble in Northern Ireland to be part of my daily practice as a psychiatrist. But for a couple of years, actually, it wasn't as I expected, because I started working in the city hospital. But when I moved to another hospital in Belfast, the Mater Hospital, which is in another section, then the troubles started to appear on a daily basis with my practice. Post-traumatic stress disorder, phobia, anxiety, depression, you name it.
And now you are the elected president of the Islamic Centre of Belfast. So how this centre came about?
When I came here and I offered my service, and people maybe thought that I have something to contribute. As a Muslim, when you join the Muslim community, it's natural that you will see yourself doing a bit here, a bit there. And it evolved from there, and then I was elected to try and put my expert in helping the Muslim community.
How big is the Muslim community in Northern Ireland?
We don't have accurate figure, but we think that there are around 3,000 in Northern Ireland. 2/3 will be in Belfast, and maybe 1/3 in other parts of Northern Ireland. It's a nice community in many ways. For example, you see Ireland didn't bring cheap labor as England did or France did or Germany did. So all the Muslims in Ireland are here for education, for professional development, for business, if you like. Over the years, we have been able to build good bridges with the community at large, with the Queen's University, with Ulster University, with Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minority. We were very much involved in establishing the Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minority. We were involved in establishing, for the first time, Northern Ireland Interfaith Forum. And I'm glad to say that I was the first chairman of the Northern Ireland Interfaith Forum, which represented all people from all religious background, not because of me, but because a Muslim was able to contribute to that role, if you like. We took the initiative and we invited the RUC to our Islamic Center to introduce ourselves. I believe that if we don't, as Muslims, you know, the image of Muslims is not so great in the West.
Why is that?
Well, it's for a couple of reasons. The history is one. The second reason is the role played by the media when they interview anyone and he or she will be talking as an expert on Islamic affairs. Maybe he or she read a book or visited an Islamic country for a couple of months or something like this. I blame the media that they don't interview thinkers or authors or academic people who know the history and who know the majority of Muslims, if you like.
When you are living in a culture and in a social fabric which is totally different from the Islamic orientation, the danger is that you try to dilute your religious beliefs in order to accommodate your presence in a foreign country.
Do you think there's a cultural gap between the Muslim
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But it is changing. Maybe slowly, but it is changing.
Could you tell me something about the Islamic Center itself, how the center started?
We have records to show that the first early Muslims came to Northern Ireland in the early 50s. We know for sure that there were few Muslims who prayed on Friday, the Jumu'ah prayer, in a house in Belfast. The majority at that time, they were students at Queen's from different countries, from South Africa, from the Indian subcontinent, Northern Africa. And it evolved from there. It's still serving our needs.
What kind of relationship the Muslim community has with the local community?
I think we have, for a while, maybe 20 years or so, Muslims in England or other parts, they were not so good in building bridges. They thought that they could live and survive as a kato, if you like, isolated. Maybe the society at large didn't welcome them enough. But over the years, they have changed their views, and now they are more opening up, if you like. I think we have a good relationship with the society at large, with the community.
So what exactly is the activity of this institution?
The Islamic Center is a mosque where people come and perform their prayers. As you know, our main congregation is on Friday. We offer Sunday school. All the teachers are volunteers, students or undergraduate or postgraduates teach our Muslim children on Sunday. Mm-hmm. We have study circles, Quranic study circles for men and for women. We have a small library. Sometimes we receive inquiries from people who want to travel to Islamic countries. We as Muslim community, we would like to integrate with this in the society we are in, if you like. But integration to us is not losing our own identity, but instead of that, having mutual understanding and mutual respect, if you like. People usually talk about the society should understand the minority. I usually say that the minority as well should understand the society at large. It's both ways, if you like. There's a misconception that minorities are immigrants or travelers going through and will leave at some stage. I remember I met a Pakistani chap who was maybe 19 in England. I met him in London and I asked him, "When was the last time you have been home?" He said, "What do you mean home? I was born in Kent and I was brought up in Kent. I never been outside England." So that's to show you how naive I was. Because he was Pakistani, I thought, from Pakistani origin, I thought home is somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We have 3 boys in my family. 2 were born in Dublin, 1 in Limerick, and they might live all of their life here. Mm-hmm. So we'd like to be part of the fabric of the society we are in. If you look at how much we are contributing to the life in the society we are in, we'd like to continue that and build more bridges with the community at large.
Rajni Sharma came to Belfast as a little girl with her parents. She is now a social worker at the Indian Community Centre in Belfast, which also contains a Hindu temple and is situated beside the Orange Hall. She talks about the importance of the centre and how it plays a vital role in harnessing the various communities together.
I've been living here for the last 34 years.
Were you born here?
No, I wasn't. I was 7 when I came over. My grandfather came over in the early 50s, and my father came over 62, and then we followed a couple of years later.
What is your role in this centre?
At the minute, I'm a Women's Development Officer in the Indian Community Centre.
And that's, what sort of centre is it?
It's a centre for the Indian community, basically. But because we are a mutual between the Catholics and the Protestant, we find it's piggy in the middle. We are there for both sides of the community, and it's a neutral venue for a lot of the local community to have their events here as well. The centre has been officially opened since 1982. It was my grandfather and my father's wish to have something here for our children to grow up into.
Super.
So It's a wish come true for them. My father, he's dead a few years, but it was one of his dreams that we should have something for our community here.
And tell me, is there a large Indian community here?
There is about 250 families here,
I see.
but they're all scattered all over Northern Ireland. There's only about 25 families living in Belfast area. The rest live Antrim, which is about 20 minutes. Lisburn, Larne, different areas. And then there's about 10 to 20 houses in Londonderry, and then Coleraine, Portrush.
Tell me something about the development of this Indian Community Centre.
At the minute, we have a full-time worker here and 2 part-time people working for the centre, developing the centre, not only within the Indian community but in the wider community as well. We had an event here on the 30th of August called Mela. This was a culture awareness for a lot of the local community to see that there's other people living here besides themselves. And we would even do a lot of talks to plays, women's groups and so forth. Just awareness of we are different in colour. Our culture's different, what we are, human beings like themselves.
Do you have any relationship in the Republic of Ireland for the community?
We've sort of kept, there's a few people that we keep in contact. We would write them, we would send them our mailing list and so forth. But overall, because of the restriction in population, it goes up, there's all doctors and so forth who come and go. It's difficult to keep a record of the people living in Dublin. Though we would like to keep a record and see how people who've been living there for 30 odd years, we still have a record with them.
Relationship with them, yeah.
But the new generation, we just don't have the same. I would like to maybe work on that and see if we can develop something.
Do you recall any incident whereby your work or business has been affected?
We do. I remember in 1976, at the height of the Troubles, at one stage, somebody came in and left a bag in my father's shop saying it was a bomb.
Really?
At the time, I was standing just at the front, and we were horrified. We didn't know what to do. My cousin then had just come over from India and lifted the bag and took it across the road. It was terrifying experience because you've seen bombs go off and so forth. But thank God it didn't go off. And then for about 2 weeks afterward, we had constantly the police living in our house, just keeping a check on what's happening, people coming in and so forth. For a long time afterwards, I felt anybody that came in with maybe a Halloween mask on frightened me. To think that they've come up either to take money off you or they come in with another bomb or something.
So was your father's business ever been affected by that violence?
Oh, indeed. For a long time. As well, the bomb didn't go off, that particular event. But my own business, 4 years ago, we have a restaurant on Dublin Road, got blew out, and we were out of business for over a year.
With the development of the centre and the development of the peace process, do you see a better future for this part of the world?
I certainly hope so. We've been praying that it would be. It's a lovely place.
And now you're married and have your own children here, born and brought up in this part of the world. Could you tell me something about how you feel?
Well, this is home for me. I've lived here for over 30 odd years, and we go back to India. We have family there, but it's not home. I had my grandparents, my parents here, my sisters, they live here. I have a lot of family, my uncles and aunts are here. So this is home for me. Unless my children otherwise decide they want to move out of the part of the world.
Patrick Hugh, a citizen of the UK, is originally from Hong Kong. He is a director of the Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minorities, known as NICEM. I met Patrick at Belfast's first Indian Mela festival at the Botanic Gardens.
When I first arrived in Belfast, as like other people, when they first came over here, they find we have a very strong security measure, which means that a lot of army, police patrol, checkpoint, and you will find every day, it will disturb your life. And, especially those military at the street, they are something like a guerrilla warfare, in the city. And so at the beginning, we don't much, familiar with that side of situation. And since then, when we live here, we a little bit, upset, there's sort of problem in Northern Ireland, and then we become part of the life. At the moment, I am the Executive Director of the Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minority, NICEM. NICEM is a kind of umbrella body to represent the interests of all the ethnic minority groups in Northern Ireland. We represent the Chinese community, Indian, Pakistani, Muslim, Black African and Afro-Caribbean community, the traveler, the Filipino groups, and other small minority groups as well. NICEM was set up in 1994 June. At that time, the different ethnic groups were lobbying for the race relation legislation. It is very funny, in Northern Ireland, we have the law in England, Wales, and Scotland, but does not extend to Northern Ireland. Until in early 90s, all the groups find that we don't have the legislation to protect ourselves. Since then, all the groups work together and fighting to lobbying to have legislation. So that's how we came together and worked together. And then finally, we set up NICEM to represent the interests for all the groups. At the moment, all the government departments, they recognize our contribution, in particular, to raise the policy issue to different government departments. I must say, at the moment, the major issue in terms of racism is the kind of institutional racism, in which the ethnic minority groups or the people will not receive the same services as like the local people. Like the Chinese community or the Pakistani community, in which we have the language barrier. And because of the language barrier, we cannot get access to these basic services. And even though we are the citizen of the UK, but we are the second-class citizen. I think all the ethnic minority groups, they are very keen, to have, the peace agreement, which endorsed, in April this year. But I think the next move is far more important, how we translate the whole agreement into our daily life. At the moment, we are quite concerned about the human rights and equality protection. In particular, we have a Northern Ireland bill trying to translate everything from the agreement into the legislation. But unfortunately, at the moment, the legislation does not reflect everything from the agreement into legislation. We still are fighting for an issue, especially about the power and the roles of the new Human Rights Commission in Northern Ireland. It is a new body will create under strand 3 of the agreement. And also, a couple of months ago, when the government published a consultation paper about the future equality issue, and they suggest to merge all the existing equality agencies into one single body. But this consultation paper, they got a lot of opposition. But the government still go ahead with the proposal. So we're a little bit not happy about the consultation process. If majority of the people oppose on it, why we still need to have such a body? Because the body itself does not reflect the whole constitutional arrangement in the future. Because we will have a new Human Rights Commission, we will possibly have a Department of Equality. Because of these things, we don't need to have another Equality Commission, because we can merge all the agencies under the new Human Rights Commission. But of course, the major issue is we need to have a kind of transitional period from the existing agency to the future merging into one single Human Rights Commission.
Reverend Martin Smith of the Ulster Unionist Party is from Belfast South. I met Reverend Smith at his office on Craigie Road. He expressed his views regarding the Asian communities of Northern Ireland.
It is significant, but it's not large, insofar as there might be just about 3,000 Chinese and similar numbers of Indians, and much smaller groupings. For example, one of the most successful settlements of the Korean and Vietnam people at that time would have been in Northern Ireland. But the Pope went out of their way to help them. In fact, some of our people who had Chinese used their gifts to actually link in. But they, as the development grew older, most of them went back to the mainland, and certainly a lot of the Chinese prefer the bustle of large cities and moved back that way. Having said that, there's a strong residual community, and particularly in those two sections, who have made fantastic contributions to Northern Ireland. Most of those people who came were entrepreneurs seeking to have a living that they were not maybe getting in their own communities and developing contacts elsewhere, and people did settle in Ireland, both in the Republic and in Northern Ireland. And in this past year, for example, it's rather significant that one from the Chinese community and one from the Indian community who made a mark on their social life in Belfast actually were honoured by Her Majesty.
Have you been in touch either directly or indirectly with particular cases in your life?
In my canvassing, I discovered we had virtually somebody from most countries in the world living in South Belfast. There might only have been one or two, but the largest group are the Chinese and the Indian. I've been involved at the constituency level at two particular levels. One, there have been those who feel that they've been victimised, and that was partly as a result of the so-called Troubles.
Have they been sort of, so to speak, caught in using the phrase crossfires or something like that?
Yes. I would say that they at times felt that it was directed against them because of their race, but it was part of the intimidation and the collection of money to support paramilitaries through threats. And undoubtedly there have been cases where I believe there has been ignorant discrimination, where sometimes people annoyed with them when they were serving, for example, in a carry-out, used what I would have called racial vilification. There was that type of thing, but largely it has been the intimidation of the business community to pay protection money to the racketeers.
In your opinion, do they really fit into the Ulster life?
Some of them do very well, and there are communities, for example, in Mid-Ulster, where they've been part and parcel of that community for years. What I have noticed, and I think it is a useful thing, that they've tried to establish their own identity and retain their own culture. And in South Belfast, for example, there's a dance group which teaches both Indian dance and Irish dances, and they're performed in different places as part of the multiculture of Northern Ireland. And of course now, with the racial equality laws extended to Northern Ireland, I don't think it will make any significant difference, because as far as I can assess, the people have been treated fairly throughout the society. There will have been aberrations, I'm sure, but I'm talking in the general terms. I don't believe there have been any planned discrimination as we meet them in different walks of life.